Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Muhammad Ali Mir and I'm from the Office of Advancement at LUMS. Welcome to our podcast today where we will be discussing our MS and PhD in biology. I'm joined today with Dr. Shaper, who is an associate professor at the Life Sciences Department, and she has completed her doctorate from the University of Alabama in Birmingham. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Shaper.
Wa alaikum assalam.
So, Dr. Shaper, why should someone choose the Syed Babar Ali School of Science and Engineering if they want to pursue an MS or a PhD?
So my first answer will be why not? Now, expanding on that answer, I think that the prospects of your master's and PhD and your future career are going to broaden and brighten up if you do a master's and a PhD from the Department of Life Sciences. And here is why it's going to broaden. First of all, the standard of teaching. So it's not that we have higher standards than other universities, but it is the breadth of subjects. It's the wide variety of subjects that we expose our students to. Then the way we teach, so more technology into it. And this technology is user-friendly. So it's not like the students are going to come here and they're going to have a lot of difficulty in understanding what we are trying to teach, but we make it student-friendly or user-friendly. Then the experts, people who are teaching these courses, I mean, they're very passionate about their work. And the best thing is that they incorporate their research into teaching. And what it does is that it gives students a beautiful blend of understanding of the topic so that they understand how the theory works, and then they can take this theory a step further, and then they see how this theory will be deployed in an experimental avenue. So while they're just sitting in the class, they're getting a very broad perspective of the subject that they're learning.
So you gave a very good answer on why someone should choose the Syed Babar Ali School. But when you talk about life sciences, what does this term actually mean?
So, biology, at some point, or at least, a few years ago when I was growing up, biology primarily means botany and zoology and maybe chemistry. But now biology, the life sciences had grown out of, it had evolved out of biology. So yes, we do tackle the basic things in biology, but then we have built on this theme of biology. So you see in the department, multiple subjects that are being highlighted and multiple aspects of those subjects. Now, in order to clarify it, let me tell you specifically what I'm talking about. So here we talk about genetics. We talk about epigenetics, and epigenetics is actually a very advanced field. So in genetics, you're primarily thinking about genes, and I'm sure that these students coming from different universities, they are already very aware of genetics, and they're somewhat aware of epigenetics also. But when they come to the Department of Life Sciences, they understand how the concepts in epigenetics are deployed in health, in environment, right, in climate change. And how do you connect climate change through epigenetics with human health? So that in itself gives you this huge perspective. It's like larger than life. Then, to further specify, we have incorporated bioinformatics into it, biostatistics into it, cell biology into it, and then to give it a little bit more flair, we have microbiology in it as well, and agriculture. So people who are coming from a basic plant background, they can also deploy all of their information into life sciences. They just have to be a little bit more creative. And then life sciences, like microbiology, connects really well with plant biology. It also connects really well with bioinformatics, and it connects really well with epigenetics.
So now that we know what the departments are working at, what can you tell us more about the structure of the MS program and then go on for the PhD program?
So in case of MS program, the overall MS program is about 30 credit hours, which is normal. Even if you go to United States or UK, well, the definition of credit hours might be different in UK and US, but nevertheless, there are about 28 to 30 credit hours. And then you have some credit hours which are dedicated to research, and then some credit hours which is dedicated to coursework. And within the coursework, you have some core courses, and then you have elective courses. And I think elective courses at this stage gives you an opportunity to test the other waters. Like if you are very interested in epigenetics, but you also want to learn a little bit about cell biology, you can take an elective of cell biology. And then if you love it, if you fell in love with it, then you can definitely do your master's thesis in cell biology.
Oh, so you can tailor make your own degree, what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I would like to add one more stream. So there is a molecular and cell biology stream in master's program. And microbiology is not just limited to microbiology, it's microbiology and public health and immunology. So right there, you have so much going on. So if we do just one project per year, you can see that there are 8 projects going on in a year. And I would like to highlight this plant genetics part because they are making a lot of progress. They are doing some really cutting edge science. And one of our faculty, Dr. Khurram, he was featured in CNN as well because he had developed a plant which can actually tolerate drought. And you know, Pakistan, given the climatic conditions in Pakistan, this is the kind of discovery and this is the kind of research that we need, that we are looking for. And that will make Pakistan sustainable in terms of food security, which is again the third SDG, the sustainable development.
So you yourself have also done a lot of research. I've noted that you've written over 3 publications last year alone. Can you tell us about some of those publications? What did you focus on?
So our lab actually works on an interface of chronic and infectious diseases. And when we talk about diseases, people think that we only work with the disease. But here we're working with the pathogen that causes the disease. We are also working at the host response. And then within the host response, we are looking at host response from people who are perfectly healthy and then people who have a comorbidity. And the comorbidity that I'm working with is diabetes. Pakistan, you know, that ranks 6th in terms of diabetes.
We do have a very big problem.
Absolutely. And then in terms of infectious diseases also, you know, pneumococcal infections are vaccine preventable infections, but Pakistan ranks 4th in terms of pneumococcal infections and death attributable to pneumococcal infections. And when you put the two together, people with diabetes are very susceptible to having pneumococcal infections. So here we have a double burden of infection, which you don't see in a lot of developed countries. So right here, you have lots of avenues to work to understand pathogenesis, to understand the bacterial population. So for my work, I incorporate lots of different things. I incorporate bioinformatics, I do mathematical modeling, I do basic public health, where we are just looking at the prevalence and incidence of an infection, which is again a very important information if you are trying to develop, let's say, surveillance. You want to know what exactly is the prevalence of certain infections at the moment, at a given point in time, which are usually called cross-sectional studies. We can take an example of dengue. You know, dengue hits us every year.
Yes, it is a very big problem.
Exactly. And then I'm sure you must have heard that every year dengue comes in a different shape.
Exactly.
Which we call
it evolves.
variants. Exactly. It evolves. But how do we know that it evolves? So we have to keep surveilling, we have to keep understanding this organism and this process that you're calling evolution. And that's where people like me comes in, because we analyze these organisms and then we flag if there is something happening to the organism, if there is a new organism, and I'm sure you've heard.
A new variant.
Yes, exactly. So you must have heard of variants
Exactly.
in COVID as well. And the reason why we know about variants is because we are doing surveillance. So, and the other thing was, we are always we want to know if the disease, or if we take an example of COVID, if the COVID is gone or not. So that's where we look at the prevalence and incidence of infection. Prevalence means the number of infections at a given point in time, and incidence is when a new infection arises. And this is something that my lab is interested in doing.
When I meet up with some aspiring students who want to enroll in this program, they often tell me that what are the employment prospects for a student who engages in life sciences? They only go for education, the education field in the future, or they go into some sort of research and development. What are your thoughts on this? What are the employment prospects for this?
So first of all, I'm going to say what's wrong with that. That's very noble. both research and education is very noble.
In my mind, it is.
Research in particular, not noble, but it's a necessity because we don't have a lot of evidence in Pakistan. I mean, if you go out and you start looking for sexual and reproductive health, how much evidence do we have about the sexual and reproductive health in women, in children, in young girls, in young boys? Then the same thing with tuberculosis. I mean, tuberculosis, whatever evidence we have about tuberculosis, the prevalence of tuberculosis, it's actually coming from outside, like WHO comes in and UNICEF and United Nations comes in and they start to determine what's happening. Something very simple, malnutrition. I mean, there's so much malnutrition, but there is very little evidence. So there is nothing wrong in doing research. There's nothing wrong in being in academia. However, having said that, people who come out or students who come out of life sciences, there is a huge demand in healthcare industry for these students. They just have to be smart enough to know how they are going to deploy themselves, their training, and their expertise into finding the right opportunities. And sometimes these opportunities actually come to their doorstep, which is very fortunate of them, through their PIs, but then they have to make themselves marketable. We give them all the skills, we give them all the information, everything. They then just have to go out and explore the right market. The other important thing is you need to know what exactly you want to do in this life, right? Because you only have this one life.
Yes, and you have to be passionate about whatever you do.
Absolutely, about anything that you do. If you teach with a passion, I think that in itself is so rewarding. So when you go out for looking for a job, yes, money is an important thing, but other than that, you need to be able to feel the job, feel the work, and tell yourself that this is my calling. This is exactly what I want to do.
This is my calling in this world.
Absolutely. And then overall, like I said, healthcare industry is really hungry for people, for researchers that we produce. So I think they should tap into that.
So you are basically the heroes behind what doctors and other people actually do.
I think they are the heroes. They are the heroes, but we are the supporting force. And I think we need to start working together. There is this huge gap. Physicians we are working in silos, but we can help each other and we can help build the system, the healthcare system better. Because at the moment, physicians are so involved in just taking care of their patients that they forget that there is this whole field of research out there. And that research can be incorporated into patient care. And I think at the moment, because the patient burden is so high, they're not thinking about research. Right? And for the evidence and for guidelines and for standards, they are always looking up to United States, or they are looking up to UK, or they are looking up to CDC. But why can't we develop our own standards, our own guidelines?
Something from within Pakistan.
Exactly. But for that, you need to do research. You need to understand the progression of disease in your community. You need to understand your own patient really well. Listen to the patient really well. And then on the research side, we're not very well aware of healthcare problems that are faced by people. So we're just basically doing very basic research. But in order to be able to translate this research into a solution, we both need to talk.
We need to coordinate with each other.
Absolutely. And just recently, Dr. Imran Cheema in the Department of Electrical Engineering, now he's an electrical engineer, right? And he works with photonics. And he built this little tiny probe, and between him, me, and the National TB Control Program, now we have this device that we can take anywhere and find out whether a person has tuberculosis or not without taking any samples from the patient. Because sometimes patients do not produce the right sample, especially if they are children. So you see, who would have known that, electrical engineering will...
So teamwork makes the dream work.
Yes, exactly. And this is exactly how I want these students to think about. They have to be passionate about what they're doing. They need to understand how they're going to use these expertise. When I did my PhD, I did it in microbiology. And as such, it seems like, oh my God, what am I going to do all my life? Am I just going to teach? But here I am. I'm teaching, doing my research, and I'm also working with primary and secondary health. I'm trying to help them with whatever expertise I have to understand the prevalence of infection, to understand the efficacy of vaccines, which is again a very important.
So you have your hands everywhere right now.
Yes, wear multiple hats.
If we talk about a student who wants to apply in the MS or PhD, you need a minimum of 16 years of education for the MS program and 18 years of education for the PhD program. In both of these programs, you need to give the SEBASI specific subject test, and you also need to give the LGAT exam. On top of that, you need to give an interview if you are shortlisted, and you also have to give letters of recommendation. For the PhD students, you need to give a research presentation and a research statement as well. So I think a research statement for a PhD student is one of the most important aspects of that process. What are your views on this, Dr. Shafer?
Yes. So my first answer is yes. That's my instinctive answer, that you have to have a research statement, because research statement is like a culmination of all your thought processes. And you just hope that you have written this research statement yourself, and this is exactly how you feel about research. You see, when you come in a PhD program, you're married to your project. Okay, and you really have to have the passion to do that. And the passion, only you can use that passion if you have it. Yes. If you don't have it, doesn't matter what you write in your statement of purpose, because a statement of purpose can impress a faculty, it can impress a PI. But if you don't represent your own statement of purpose, then that statement of purpose is useless. As far as the presentation is concerned, I really like this idea of having a presentation for a PhD student, because if they cannot explain the work that they had done themselves during their masters, then the likelihood of them being successful and being able to think about their own research when they become a PhD students are really, really slim. So I really like this idea of them presenting the work. But in addition to the presentation, to the statement, I think what they need to bring in is passion. They should be passionate about doing science, about doing research, because frustration sits on every research bench. If you do 10 experiments, just know that 9 of them are not going to work. So you should be prepared to face that, and you should be prepared to troubleshoot, and then wake up the next morning and you say, I'm really passionate about my work. I'm going to go and do this experiment again, and I'll continue to do it until it works.
Now that we've talked about the PhD applicants, we can now shift our focus over to the MS applicants. So for the MS applicants, we can say, if you only have a strong foundation, can you only get into the degree based on that? Or can someone like me come into the degree as well?
Why not?
Who has a foundation in business?
Absolutely, why not? I mean, and see, again, we people who are in life sciences, we are good at science, but we are not good at management. So maybe, you can bring in all that management experience and help us manage science. But, jokes aside, yes, there is still a lot of crosstalk between the departments. And if you're coming in with one degree, just don't limit yourself to that degree. And once again, your passion counts a lot, like how much you are willing to learn from a different field, or from a different avenue, or a different kind of science.
Oh, so what is your ideal profile for an MS student who applies?
So first of all, I would say they should be willing to work hard, because at LUMS, we believe in motivation, hard work, perseverance. And once you know that you have all of those contents, a person from a botany background can also apply. And I think they will fit right in, because like I said, there are so many different kinds of research that's going on. And our core curriculum actually prepares you for everything that you want to do later on in your thesis, or maybe as your electives. The third thing is your electives. So, if you come in with one background and you would like to expand on that background and see what else is available, you can always take these elective courses. And if it turns out that you fall in love with those elective courses, maybe you can go and talk to the PI and see if they have space in their lab and if you would like to do research with them. As far as, so LUMS has healthcare management
And innovation.
program, and now they are moving into that direction also, into the healthcare direction as well. So that is going to result in building programs between life sciences and business schools.
So there's going to be a lot of coordination between both of these schools.
Absolutely. And there is already a lot of coordination among schools within SSC.
Now that we talked about this, we can talk more about our financial support that we offer our students. For the PhD program, it is a fully funded program, and for the MS programs, we have our merit-based scholarship, and we also have student interest-free loans as well. We can talk more about you, Dr. Shaper, and your department as a whole. Your department, what is the future of life sciences within LUMS?
I think the future is really bright. Now, having said that, futures usually depend on evolution and on diversity. Because if we become stagnant, if we just continue to do what we are doing, it will become boring, and a point will come when this is just going to fizzle in thin air. But because the faculty in the department is so innovative, it's so creative, they're constantly thinking outside the box. They're constantly making collaborations with other departments, which is further diversifying the program. So it's not just one field that we are constantly focusing on. There are multiple fields, and then those fields are constantly branching out into newer fields. And if students come in through life sciences, they will get this great opportunity of navigating through all of those fields. So you see, our students will continue to learn and diversify themselves. And of course, the department is going to continue to diversify, continue to grow. So all in all, I think the department has a
very bright future.
Yes, absolutely.
Before we conclude our discussion, Dr. Shaper, I want to ask you if you have some advice for students who want to apply in this program for the MS or the PhD program.
So first of all, they need to bring a lot of fire in their belly.
Yes.
Then they should be wanting to do this. Right? So they shouldn't come here because, I didn't get admission in medical school, so I decided that I'm going to do a master's here. No, this attitude is not going to get them anywhere. So they need to bring in a lot of passion. When they get here, they need to interact. They need to interact with the faculty. They need to interact with the students. They need to interact with other departments and other schools. Yes, I mean, LUMS is a huge opportunity for anyone walking into LUMS. They need to think.
It's a very safe working environment.
Absolutely, it's a very safe working environment, and it's a very encouraging working environment, because you can go to any PI and they are always willing to talk to you. I mean, I have lots of PhD students who are not my PhD students. They're working, their PIs are in chemistry, and then we are collaborating on different projects. And this actually adds a lot of flair to your studies. It makes you more applicable, because when you go out for an interview after your PhD, you can say that, what, I had learned all these skills from chemistry, I have learned all these skills from basic science, I have learned all these skills from another department. And in life sciences, we work on cancer biology, we work on epigenetics of so many things, we work on infectious diseases, immunology, bioinformatics, computational models. I mean, Dr. Safiullah Chaudhary, he's a master of computational models. So all you have to bring in is an appetite to learn, and that's it. Wow. That's the only thing that you need to bring in, and you will find this environment extremely supportive, nurturing. Thank you, that's the word that I was looking for. And then when you go out of here, you would have blossomed into a scientist, not a technician, And then you get a lot of opportunities for TAing lots of different courses that will give you some exposure to teaching. So you see, all in all, this is a whole package, and they should be able to know how to use this package to their advantage.
Before we conclude our podcast, we can talk about the MS and PhD application deadlines. So the deadline is the 16th of April. You need to create your account on the LUMS webpage, and then you need to submit your account if you want to get enrolled into this degree. Thank you so much for a very interesting podcast, Dr. Shaper, and I hope to see you again in some sort of capacity. Thank you so much for everyone else who viewed this podcast, and I hope that you had a very interesting time.